Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Haley Yates. I am the UBA Manager of Strategic Solutions. And on behalf of United Benefit Advisors and the Alliance Healthcare Coalition, I welcome you to today's presentation in the UBA Employee Benefit Webinar Series. Today's topic is, what is your captive strategy? And our presenters today are Mick Rodgers and Sundara Munasinger. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mick and Sundara to take it away.
Great. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. What a great showing. I continue to think that this, the captive in general is going to somehow peak and then start sort of losing its momentum. But, honestly, at this point in the marketplace, we see it, accelerating even more, right? And it's a virtual land rush of different captives out there starting up right now. And, we're known as the captive folks. So it's not a week that really goes by that someone else calls and says, hey, we've got this, we've got that. And so what I'm really hoping to do today is just really talk in general about the captive marketplace, the captive strategies that you might want to deploy for either new business growth or to protect your book of business from someone else coming in, with it. Some of you may know me as a member of UBA as well as the endorsed captive. I run an agency out of Boston, and I've personally been working with captives since 2010, 2011, when we really had our first placements as a difficult self-funded set of clients. We knew the traditional marketplace wouldn't offer coverage, so we started exploring captives, and we had placements in different various wholesalers out in the marketplace until about 2016, when we brought in-house our own captive. And the thing that you want to keep in mind as you hear me say is Alliance, which is the captive that we're going to talk about, was developed for my clients, right, as a retail broker, with that type of client relationship, in mind, and it's been, successful. We've gotten a lot of good national press on it. And in 2023, we were endorsed by UBA as the captive, and we've got, many of you, actually, I see a bunch of you on here that are already using the captive as a stop loss market. So we appreciate that. And those of you that aren't, we'd love to have an opportunity to sort of like show you how it would work, really. And this is a great type of forum. I really like to start about just in general, high level, what is your captive strategy? You have to have something these days, right? You have to have something in place, because essentially, if you're not, you're losing ground, right? I think I can safely say, and hopefully get a bunch of nods from folks out there in the marketplace, that the fully insured sort of regulated market is starting to crack, right? It's starting to lose finally its luster. You're seeing more level funded programs. You're seeing more commercial self-funded programs. You're seeing more captives, more and more every year. And I like to think, as a agency, as a producer out there, you really fall into one of three buckets. Your book might be all fully insured, and it might even be smaller groups. And you want to try and figure out, is a captive, is self-funding an answer, right? And I think that your next step there is some type of level funded program out there, right? Or you might be already taking that step and using self-funding, and at a pretty high level, right? You could have a very mature book of self-funded clients, but you're not using captives yet, right? And again, the captive could be your next step, right? Because I think that that's when you start to wrangle all of your risk into one pool, and then you really start to see the benefits of having all of your clients in one pool with greater control. You know, the the um the third category really is you're already using self-funded, you're already using captives, you have a deep understanding of what they are, but you still might not understand how to evaluate one against the other. And that's really, I think, what we want to sort of show this group is, why is it, what are the expenses in a captive, and what does that really mean for your client, right? And because I'll tell you, I went about 5 or 6 years of placing business in captives till I really understood what that meant and what that game consists of. So I think I know a lot of the participants here. I think we've got a pretty good, diverse group in all three buckets. I guess, what we're trying to do is, if there are any questions as we go, we want to take them live. Any questions on any of these buckets, or we'll continue to go. I think one of the things that is important to understand is we, as a retail broker, use captives in all three of these settings, right? We take our small and regulated groups. I mean, the idea of a captive is that we're pooling across a big number, right? Our average size group in a captive is about 100 lives. That means we have some groups in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and we have some groups, 400 or 500 to trying to get that average. And we're spreading that risk across the captive. It creates a more stable renewal system for your clients. It creates an opportunity for the client to regain some of the fixed costs or the premium through if it's unused. And essentially, it gives you the flexibility to run the program as you wish, right? We have clients in our pools. In the same pools, we're using level funded, max funded, truly self-funded pay as you go, and all kinds of different fundings. It doesn't really sort of matter. This is a very malleable sort of process that you can use. These are some slides that I've used for presentations that give, and we're going to show you some resources at the end where you can download these presentations and you can make them your own if you would like. The top left is sort of an iconic, here's the path of your purchasing spectrum for a client. And what we usually like to say when we get to a presentation like this is, you're here and you're fully insured. It could be in any one of those size segments. And you're paying $1 for what our clients in our captive pools are spending 73 cents for. Now, there's 4 or 5 steps along the way to get you to the captive. And you may need to go through 1, 2, 3, all 4, or you can come right into the captive. The key to this slide is it allows you to engage with a client on a completely different level than where you're at right now. And this is as a retail agency, I do zero marketing, if you will, for non-clients. And it's because of a slide like this that we're able to show them, you're here, we want to get you to the captive, but you have to be our client to run through that process. And then Lindsay, Sundara, and the rest of our team really help take them through those steps to get to the client. So when you're engaging with Alliance, you're somewhere there, and we also need to hear that story. The dirty little secret about this slide is that, no matter where they are, you can meet them where they're at, and you can gain more knowledge of the risk as you keep moving them down. If you operate it correctly, you can understand their risk, and lower their costs at the same time, so that you end up with a very clean risk at the end that you've cleaned up a little bit. So on the commercial markets dime, and then you're able to put it into a captive pool, and it's running very smooth.
Hey, Mick,
The other, yes.
we had a question come through. It was an anonymous question, but sounds like there's a couple of people on the call that might be brand new to the captive concept. Can you just give a super high level overview of captives in general for those few folks?
Yeah, sure. And it's the next two slides here. So great. The overall concept of a captive is uh, about pooling risk, right? So if you look at the top left, what that slide basically says, if you really just break it down, is a group of 100 employees has a 20% chance of a bad year. A bad year is an upside down risk, right? They have taken more claims out of a pool than they have given in premium. So as that risk grows to, say, 1,000 employees, right? So that company could grow to 1,000, or you could take that 100 life company and put it into a pool of 1,000, and the probability of the bad year goes down to almost nothing, right? So you have a really true predictable risk. So what a captive allows you to do is take some of these non predictable smaller groups and pool them across across a pool, so that you get a nice stable risk. Here's another way to say that is, what we've been able to show over the course of the last 10 years is a group of 10,000 employees, which is some of the size of our pools. That's a fully predictable risk. And that risk acts the same if it's one employer or if it's 100 employers that make up that 10,000 employees. And that's the sort of the predictability. From a risk mitigation standpoint, if you look down to the bottom left slide, this is what we call sort of our layer cakes, right? Diagram, which is your client takes the risk in that smaller bottom area. They have a max, they have a ceiling, right? They have a claims ceiling of, they pick their own specific deductible, 25, 50, $100,000. And they have, so that acts as a ceiling for any one large claim. After that, the reinsurance takes over. And then they have walls as well, right? They've got the max, which is, it can be the fully insured equivalent of a max, and that's what you're going to compare the self-funded options to the fully insured rates. Where the captive comes in is in this middle layer, which is a shared layer. So a good portion of the premium that any one client pays goes into that middle layer. And it helps pay for claims over any one client's specific, but under and we pick a ceiling of $500,000, but most captives have different numbers, right? So anything beyond, say, the $25,000 specific that your client picks, and $500,000 is paid for by the pool, and that pool again is funded by all of the client's premium, paying into the pool. The cool part about that shared layer is if there's money left over, and there's been money left over since we've been running our program, is it comes back to the participants in the subsequent year as a pro rata share of what they put in, right? So if there's money left over, there's $1 million left over, and they had 10% of the active risk, they represented 10% of the active risk. after the settlement period, they'd get 10% of what was left over, or $100,000. The third layer is a real transfer, right? Part of the premium that each one of your clients contributes to the captive goes to the upper layer for true reinsurance. So large claim comes in, and I'm going to use the example again, as the client has a $25,000 deductible, they take that 25. The pool then carries that risk from 25 to $500,000. If it continues to go and it's higher than $500,000 claim, then it goes to the true reinsurance that the program buys. So you can see that you can help, stabilize a risk by pooling that coverage in that shared layer. Every year we've got, 4 or 5 clients that have used a lot of the pool, and 4 or 5 clients that have used none of it. The cool part is it's never the same mix, right? Some of our clients that didn't use the pool at all last year will use a lot of it this year. The ones that used a lot of it last year are using none of it this year. And it's because it's somewhat unpredictable, and this gives you that stability. The third thing, I think, that the most important concept behind the captive is, it's a reinsurance play, right? It's about pooling your risk. It's about the reinsurance, buying your reinsurance smartly. But the most important thing is it gets you into an environment that you can then start to use various cost controls to lower the risk for the client, right? And, we've got, 9 or 10 different cost controls, independent, independent case management. A good one to sort of like get your head around is, a transparent fiduciary PBM, or an international, drug sourcer, right? That can lower claims. So it's not necessarily about the captive or the reinsurance or the pooling. It's really about the freedom of environment that it puts you in to be able to pull all the levers that you can't pull in the fully insured world, or you can't pull in a smaller group because you can't get to the self-funded world. So it really plays a key role in that. I hope that answered the question. Is there anything else that anyone would like that expanded on? I don't see anything. Great. I hope that helps. So again, what we're talking about is, performance of the pools. And, again, if you think about our subset of clients, they range everywhere from 40, 50 to 1,200 employees that we have in these pools. Some of the smaller groups that could go upside down very quickly, right? And they have, you could be used to more erratic renewals. This is the reason I wanted to show the performance, is because this is what pooling can do for you. This is what the freedom of environment that you can use cost controls to do it, right? So we've got over the last 8 years, we're running a 3% trend or less. That's really the renewals that we're sharing with the clients. More than that, though, is the premium that we return, right? And any captive could have, this is where this is their scorecard. You want to see how their performance is, what their trend is. But while they're holding that trend, what's happening to the premium that they've collected the prior year? And this is where you're going to, get into, are they an efficient program? What are their expenses low enough to run the program that they're not eating away, at the profits, and they're able to give money back. So this slide is usually a very powerful slide because it shows stability where you can't normally get stability with a 80, 90, 120 life group. And you're running a trend better than the national trends. We're gonna talk about 2 specific things that are an advantage to any of the UBA members, right? There are a lot of different models in captives, right? There are floating layers, there are risk shares. They will make your head will spin when you start to hear the different terminology that the different sort of captives use. You know, at the end of the day, what you really want is a really simple model, um, with low expenses, right? And you want to be able to design the program that works for your client, right? So you want to be able to pick your own deductible. You want to be able to, have a no new laser contract available. You want to be able to, have them integrated with cost controls already, so that you're getting the underwriting credit for upfront rates that are attractive enough that it seems, like they're going to have an opportunity to join the captive. So again, model matters, right? You know what I mean? We actually have a really simple model, right? Everyone picks their own spec. Um, from the spec to the $500,000 is the pool, right? 72 cents of every premium dollar goes into that pool, and the rest is paid for the reinsurance. Any claims over $500,000 is taken care of by the reinsurance, right? It gives us a good sort of like good segment to work that. So the model is very important, and you should really compare it to other models, and we can give you ins and outs of plus and minuses, etc.
Hey, Mick,
The
back
other
to
one is
that
the economic.
performance slide. Sorry, there was a question. Do you have to make a disclaimer like a financial prospectus would, where past performance cannot guarantee future results?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Actually, it just didn't make this slide. 100%. Right, but what we're trying to do is show that, yeah, we've got some pretty good history of managing managing pools and risks, for sure. Thank you for whoever asked that. The economic model is very important. Um, if you think about every dollar that the client gives to the captive program, how much of that dollar is actually going into the pool to cover their large claims? That's the end of the story, right? I think that there's any other bells and whistles that go with these captives are a little bit of noise that you should cut through and just understand what's going on. If a client, if the more expenses that it costs to run the program, the less the pool is going to have to pay for large claims. It could run out of money and not have a return. It could have a collateral, et cetera. So you really want to watch. And if I'm going to suggest that you compare anything to across the marketplace, you want to compare the expenses of the different captive programs. We run 72 cents of every dollar goes into the captive. You compare that to our competitors out there. They are putting 60, 63 cents, 55 cents. They're keeping more of that money. They're taking their money first, putting less into the pool, and have opportunity for lower returns. The other thing you want to really look at from an economics is what are the contracts that that you're using, right, to put your client into a captive. This is a self-insurance, terminology, right? You're either using a run-in contract or a run-out contract. Some of the captives that have run-out contracts have to go through their contract period and then settle, right? So if you've got a 12/18, a 12/24, 12/36, they're going to hold the money in the captive. They're going to hold that captive open. Remember, a captive is just a licensed insurance company in any one state, right? We're in Vermont, they're in Tennessee, they're international captives, et cetera. but they have the same requirements, the same capitalization, the same regulations as any other insurance company, either in that state or that domicile. So they can't just close a pool while there's active members still in, open contracts. I like, the two models, run in, run out. I think the run in model makes the best sense in something like this because, you have quicker settlements, right? There's nobody lingering, into the next period with a run out contract. Of course, you need to dovetail your coverages and make sure that you're taking, you're absorbing the risk with either a paid or 24/12 coming in, so that there's no opportunity for missed claims. I did want to show. We've created a resource page for the UBA relationship. It's got our guidelines, our process. There's templates that you can use for the RFP. What I think is really cool is the downloadable presentations that we've put on that you can make your own, right? Or they're UBA logoed now, but feel free to sort of take license with the presentations as we are. The 4 slides that I showed you are part of those presentations, as well as other marketing pieces that we've created for UBA that you can use. So again, I know that this will be recorded and sent around. If you want to take a snapshot of that, the URL, then you can have access to it. And of course, here's our contacts. Myself, Sindara, and Lindsay, at the team, and appreciate your time today. And I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. And if you've got any questions, we'll be at the next meeting.
I know it does take an extra minute or two to type a question, so we are ahead of time. We've got about 15 more minutes that we scheduled for this session. So while we've got Mick and Sindara, please feel free to type a question into that Q&A. We'll try and get it answered while we have them live here. If you happen to think of a question after you hop off the call, can connect with me directly here at UBA, or of course with any of the key contacts that Mick entered there above. And we do have a question. Who do we contact to get quotes, Mick?
Yeah. So, oops, sorry about that. Here we go. We are having some technical difficulties. So Sindara is our main contact for UBA. Her email's right there. The resource page gives a handful of other contacts.
Perfect. Thank you.
So if there's nothing else, I appreciate everyone's time. You guys wanted me to put this up too as well?
Yeah, thank you, Mick. And thank you both again, Mick and Sindara, for your thought leadership, sharing your expertise today. And thank you to all of our UBA partner firm employees and any of their clients who joined us today. Our next webinar is April 15th. That topic will be navigating employers' new fiduciary responsibilities in pharmacy benefits. If you need to learn more there, you can always contact myself or your UBA partner firm contact. And thank you again for attending the UBA Employee Benefit Webinar Series. We look forward to you joining us next month.
Thank you very much.